Hello and welcome to this short video about exercise. This video is being created by Lipodystrophy UK to help celebrate World Lipodystrophy Day on March the 31st. My name is Tom Staniford and the reason I've been asked to do this short video is I have lipodystrophy. I'm one of 14 people worldwide with MDP syndrome, which is an extremely rare condition, and lipodystrophy is one of the symptoms. I'm also a former elite road cyclist, having ridden for Great Britain para-cycling team for a number of years, and I'm also a former national champion in the sport. So it was felt that I might be in a position to help give some advice and some tips for exercise for people who have lipodystrophy. Everybody, as you know, is unique, and perhaps the uniqueness of every individual is even more stark for people with lipodystrophy, as there are so many different types of lipodystrophy and we know so little about each of them. In addition to this, many people with lipodystrophy have diabetes, and this is another confounding variable that can affect your response to exercise and activity. At this point, I want to leap in with a very important legal disclaimer. If you're about to embark upon any new exercise regime or routine, please do consult a qualified medical professional. I'm not a qualified medical professional. This video is simply a selection of guidelines and suggestions and shouldn't be considered official advice. In addition to that, I'm not a videographer and I lack both the skills and the software to create wonderful videos for you to enjoy. So I hope this one won't be too painful, but please understand that it's basically one long take all in one go. So, I'll also be looking down at my laptop for the notes because of the one take issue. So to begin with, exercise, as you probably know, is really important to human beings. It is even more important to people with lipodystrophy because I'm not going to go over into all the medical opinions and medical reasons, but when you have lipodystrophy, you're obviously certain pressures are placed upon you that normal people don't experience. Certain barriers and obstacles are faced, whether they're aesthetic barriers, issues with self-esteem, issues with circulation, issues with motivation. I've been there, I know what it's like. And the purpose of this video really is to try and encourage you to exercise in a way that you feel is most appropriate and most comfortable and most enjoyable for you. The key thing really is exercise shouldn't be considered a duty. It might feel like that sometimes, particularly when you're beginning, but the most important thing I'd like to underline is that make it fun, make it enjoyable, simply because if it's enjoyable, you're more likely to do it. And really that's as complex and as simple as it gets. If you enjoy doing something, you will do it more. So find something that you enjoy. Because I can promise you that there will be a sport or activity or exercise which will get you out and about or get you moving in a way that you enjoy. Even people who don't particularly enjoy physical activity. If I'm honest, I don't. I'm incredibly lazy. I'd be quite happy to sit in front of the TV, watching Netflix, eating Doritos all day. Not a problem. However, I found that I really enjoyed cycling. And because of that, I wanted to do more. And because I kept enjoying it, I kept doing more. And yes, there was a time when training was hard and heavy and I didn't particularly enjoy it, and of course had the day off. We've all been there. But for the most part, I just like riding my bike, which meant that I happened to do it quite a lot. There will be a sport out there for you. So try them. Try different ones, even ones that you think you would never even be particularly good at or particularly enjoyable. Try and experience as many different activities as possible. Now, some of them, yes, there may be financial implications and financial obstacles, like you couldn't just buy yourself a boat and go sailing around the world. And similarly, there may be technical and safety obligations, like swimming with sharks. Risky, maybe not the ideal regular exercise to indulge in. But I guarantee that there are options and there are activities that you can do regularly which would be really beneficial to your health and to your mentality as well, because exercise, as we know, has a tremendous effect on mental health. It releases loads of endorphins, adrenaline, lots of feel-good hormones, and it will make you feel better. So, exercising with lipodystrophy, there are a number of additional factors to consider, shall we say, that normal people probably don't experience to the same extent we do. The first one is, regardless of what type of lipodystrophy you have, you probably have some slightly abnormal fat distribution. For many of us, that means that we don't have very much under the skin subcutaneously. That means that we get cold quite quickly. So the first thing to bear in mind is wrap up warm. You really don't want to be cold. Having said that though, when you're selecting your clothing, try not to choose something that's too constrictive, because what happens is you basically cuts off the blood flow, and then it doesn't matter how thick or warm the clothing is, if you're not getting the blood to the limbs or the extremities, you're going to feel cold whatever the temperature and whatever you're wearing. So don't get too constrictive. The flip side of that is don't get too baggy, because baggy clothing gets in the way. It's going to restrict your movement, it's going to get caught on things. The chances of getting caught on things or tripping over and things like that are going to rise dramatically. So you want something a little bit loose so that you can trap air and stay nice and warm, but not so loose that you're tripping over yourself, if that makes sense. The second thing, and this is slightly related to the warmth, is flexibility. A lot of us with lipodystrophy aren't very flexible. And the reason why is basically when you don't have a layer of fat protecting your joints, what happens is your muscles tighten to provide that protection. So flexibility can sometimes be a significant issue for people with lipodystrophy. Certainly in my case, my natural flexibility is just horrific, and I have to stretch quite regularly just to get any sort of movement in my joints again. That might not be the case for you, but I would still recommend that you indulge in some stretching before and after exercise. This helps get the blood going, it helps reduce the potential for injury by basically using muscles that are too cold, really. And also stretching is quite enjoyable, you know, as a hobby or a thing to do. You're getting something out of it, but you're not really putting a load of effort in, because you can obviously adopt quite a fixed position. Lean into it, breathe deeply, feel the stretch, not too much. You don't want to be doing yourself a mischief. The next thing is impact. Because we have slightly abnormal or unusual distributions of fat, that can mean that we don't have fat around things that we'd rather were quite protected. That's not to say that you can't indulge in sports such as rugby and other high impact activities, but it's something worth considering that maybe because you have lipodystrophy, it might not be the wisest choice to go and choose something that's very high impact, like wrestling, rugby. That's not to say that you can't do it, and I certainly don't want to limit you in any way from attempting these sports and enjoying these sports, But you do have to bear in mind that it might not be the best thing if you don't have a lot of fat for protection. The next thing, and this is a really, really big thing for me, is feet and shoes. I understand that it may be different in your case, but in my case, as somebody with lipodystrophy, I don't have any fat on the soles of my feet. That makes footwear really, really, really critical for me because I can't walk barefoot. And when I do wear shoes, I need custom insoles to provide that support and that padding that I lack naturally. So, regardless of your own situation, wearing comfortable footwear that is well suited to your feet, that's well suited to your activity is really, really important. This ties back into the whole motivation thing and enjoying what you're doing. If your feet are uncomfortable, you're unlikely to enjoy what you're doing, whatever it is. So please do research, invest, test, find something that's comfortable for you and supportive. If you can't find it, keep looking. I guarantee you there will be something out there. The next thing, and this is the last thing really I want to bring up, is fueling. Fueling for people with lipodystrophy is a bit of a minefield because we all have vastly different metabolisms, and most of the scientific literature on fueling for exercise is not really effective or accurate for us. Throw in type 1 or type 2 diabetes and it becomes even more complex. The one thing I would say is that the longer you do your sport for, the more critical it is that you do take on some food. So if you're doing maybe a 20-minute or half an hour exercise, aerobic session for example, you're probably not going to need to fuel it. Certainly hydrate it, have a drink, maybe an electrolyte drink, that's absolutely fine. But you're probably not going to be taking on energy bars and the like because you don't need energy for... Really, the body has natural glucose stores, glycogen stores of around an hour. So anything under an hour, you're probably not going to need to fuel for. However, if you do have low blood sugar at the start, then that's an additional complication that you need to consider. Take on some sugar. From a safety perspective, I would always recommend taking food, whether it's glucose tablets, an energy bar, an energy gel, an energy drink. Always have it with you. You don't need to drink it most of the time or eat it, but as a safety precaution, particularly if you do have type 1 diabetes or your blood sugar is notoriously twitchy or extremely sensitive to changes in activity, it's a really useful safety precaution to have. So, ideas for exercise and things that you could possibly incorporate into your lifestyle. The first thing I want to say is that that's a key phrase, incorporate it into your lifestyle. If it's something that you have to make a huge effort to do, like for instance you are really into rowing, so you have to go all the way to the rowing centre to then get changed, to then get the hire the boat out, to then get it onto the water, to then do it, and then there's a lot of things. These practicalities, if you like, can be demotivating and dispiriting. So if you find something that you enjoy and that slips really easily into your life, then obviously you're just basically removing the potential excuses and barriers that might otherwise stop you from doing it every day or every other day regularly. Because of this, things like walking, running, swimming and cycling are really, really good from a day-to-day exercise benefit. One thing I would say is that for people with lipodystrophy, because we generally tend to retain muscle a little bit more and also have slightly unusual distribution of fat, swimming can be problematic because we don't have the fat under our extremities and limbs to help buoy us up. It can almost feel like you're a bit of a dead weight in the water and you have to expend a tremendous amount of energy just to stay afloat. So swimming, brilliant. It's a great activity to do, and if you enjoy it, then really do go for it. But please don't be dispirited if you find swimming, as somebody with lipodystrophy, particularly difficult, because unfortunately, you are engineered not to be a great swimmer. That doesn't mean that you can't be a great swimmer, just that the odds are unfortunately slightly against you. So in summary, the most important thing about exercising for normal people or for people with lipodystrophy is to make it enjoyable. Please, please, please do try and make an effort to find something that you enjoy. As I've said, and I realise I'm banging on a little bit here, repeating myself, make it enjoyable, because if you find something that you love doing, you will do it a lot more. That brings me to the end of this short video. Thank you for listening. I hope it hasn't been too painful. Please forgive me for the slightly rambling, one-take nature of the video. I think that's all I wanted to say. Please do take care, look after yourselves, get out there and have fun.